Hello, fourth grade. Welcome to our number talk series. This week we're talking about ordering fractions from least to greatest and also decimals. So in other words, the relationship between fractions and decimals on a number line. Remember, the beautiful thing about decimals are just read them mathematically, and that's telling you what it is as a fraction. So like, let's look on for example. We're not reading that as 0.3, we're reading that as 3/10. Right? We're not reading that as 0.1, we're reading that as 1/10. So when we think about this, we have 3/10, we have 4/10, we have 1/10, and we have 7/10. So if we put those in order, well, 1/10 would be first, 3/10 would be second, 4/10 would be third, and then 7/10. And then in terms of how it's written up there, in place of written as a fraction, we could put it as a decimal. We can put it as a decimal, or you can leave it as a fraction. It's saying the same number. Now, when we get down to our next one, we have to remember something. That does no, and we can still read it. That's 35 hundredths. That's 65 hundredths. 3/4, we can make that into an equivalent fraction. So we could say, well, we know that 3/4 is the same as 75 hundredths. We also could say we know that 3/8 is the same as, well, if we think about this, at a hundredths, well, 8 goes into 100 12.5 times. So what's 12.5 times 3? Well, we would say 37 5/10. So if we want, we can do that. If you want to compare all in the hundredths place, please do that. The other thing you can think about is say, well, wait a second. I know that 3/8 is the same as, I can think of it as a fraction. Well, we can turn 3 divided by 8. So if we think about that, we're saying, well, 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 7 is 56. So we'd be 375 thousandths. So 3/8 is the same as 375 thousandths. So it's up to you. I personally would make it out of the hundredths place, because I think it's easier to make it equivalent fractions, but obviously if you want to divide it, feel free to do that as well. So if we go back to put these in order, well, the 35 hundredths, 35 would be our smallest. Then we have the 3/8, which is 37.5 hundredths, which we just found over here, right? That's the 3/8. Then we know that we have the 65 hundredths. And then we know we have the 3/4, which is the same as 75 hundredths. Okay. Now, if we only have decimals to compare, like we do in problem C, the thing about decimals is make sure we're comparing the same values. A place value, as you already know, is very important. So the first one's 35 hundredths. Then we have 4/10. Then we have 4 hundredths. Then we have 3/10. But the nice thing is, because we know that we can add a 0 to make that, because we know 3/10 is the same as 30 hundredths. It's just simplified. So adding that 0, it doesn't change the place value. It just makes it just like an equivalent fraction. Okay, it's an equivalent decimal of the same value. So what's nice is, by doing that, well, we're not going to touch the 35 hundredths. We don't need to. We are going to touch the 4/10 and make that 40 hundredths. We don't need to touch the 4 hundredths. And we are going to make 3/10 into 30 hundredths. So if we put this in order. So as we finish putting these in order, what is really nice is remembering that fractions and decimals represent the same value, and that decimals can very easily be made into a fraction. A fraction can be very easily made into a decimal, depending on how you want to work with the value. What way makes you feel most comfortable. So this is something, this is still new. You are still exploring decimals and fractions, so please don't allow yourself to get flustered, and just enjoy the opportunity to learn something new. And please ask if you have any questions. Thank you.